Okay, ladies, I did not get much sleep last night, so if I fall asleep or say something silly, please keep that in mind that I didn't. I never teach on Lag Bomer, but I guess this year is different. Lots of different things happening. So, first of all, Good Yontif, Good Yar. It's on a certain level. It's a Rosh Hashanah. It has a certain level of Kedushas Rosh Hashanah today. We have the potential that all of our mistakes should be corrected and we could do tshuva. So today's a very powerful day. The reason that it's a very powerful day. We have a tradition that this is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's day. It's his day. And that he's like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was a Gilgal of Moshe Rabbeinu. He had the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu. And in every generation, just like Eliyahu Navi comes back, so Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's neshama goes into somebody primary in this generation. So we're going to attach ourselves to this. We're going to align ourselves, attach ourselves, join with, and give honor to a great tzaddik who, because of him, we are alive today, spiritually. Because without the teachings of the Zohar, which is really the teachings that talk about the soul, the deeper part of the Torah that we can't see with our eyes. It's not the halacha, but it's the hashkafa of the Torah. Without that, we would not be able to survive. And everybody here knows that even though we have to take classes in halacha and Jewish law, because we have to know how to behave and what to do. But those we have to learn halacha, but sometimes having a delicious geschmack class in spirituality and inspiration, it's much easier, and it's just as necessary. So all of the classes that you've ever heard that are coming with the purpose of opening your heart to serve Hashem, not just your hands and your feet, meaning how much do I eat, where do I go, what do I do, but your heart to explain and to inspire and to try to help us to open our heart to serve Hashem. That's coming from the secrets of the Torah, and that was given as a gift to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai to bring into the world and to share. So that's what we are celebrating today. We're celebrating the devotion of our Rabbanim, our tzaddikim, our Rabbanim, the devotion and the single-mindedness of our great men who many of them lived in poverty. Many of them, all of them were humble and self-effacing. And the whole purpose of their life was to give over Torah and to give over Torah to their generation in the best way possible, with an eye always to the future. So we're giving honor to our tzaddikim. That's called emunas tzaddikim, believing in the tzaddikim. What does it mean, emunas tzaddikim? It doesn't mean believing that a tzaddik is God. God, chas v'shalom. That got the nation of Edom into big idolatry trouble. But believing that a tzaddik is a person who chooses to spend his life or her life giving over Torah for eternity, and in the way that resonates best with the generation. So that's what we're celebrating today. And we're attaching ourselves, we're aligning ourselves, we're signing up to be in the fan club of all the Tzaddikei Emes, the true Tzaddikim in this generation, and all the Tzaddikei Emes of the past generations, and particularly and specifically today, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his son Rabbi Elazar, and his teacher, Rabbi Akiva, and his colleagues, Rabbi Meir, and Rabbi Meir's wife, Gloria, all of that chevra. We want to be in that. We want to be invited to their wedding, to their simchas. We want to be part of their WhatsApp group. We want to be their, in their fan club. We want to be a member of their team. That's what we're saying today. It's a very powerful and simple message. Whose team do you want to be on? Who do you want to follow? Right? We have all of these words in the modern world now. And remember that the Vilna Gaon taught, and I like this, such an important teaching. He said, whatever modern terminology comes into the world, it's because Hashem is sending you a spiritual message. So who do you want to follow on your Twitter account? Do you want to follow the tzaddikim and the tzidkanios, the righteous men, the righteous women? Are you going to press that follow button? And are you going to unfollow all of the things that we're wasting our time with? So at least for today, really till Shuas, at least till Shuas, disconnect from anything that takes you, that mixes you up, that confuses you and your priorities. We have to disconnect from anything, whether it's an outside influence, whatever it is that confuses us and makes us forget what our true priorities are. So I just have to share with you, as I said, I didn't get much sleep last night because I got home at 3 a.m. And I really should have stayed up, but I couldn't I tried, I really tried, but I couldn't. My body, has to be trained more to get ready for Mashiach, meaning when Mashiach comes, we're going to sleep so much. We're going to, an all-nighter is going to be regular because we're not going to want to go to sleep. I saw one of the Gabayim, and that was one of the helpers, a big Rav. He's a big Rav, he gives shiurim, but his Rav he has his Rav, and he was helping his Rav with the sorry, just because the phone. I'm on my phone. Ladies, I'm really sorry. My technology is, God bless my technology. It's disintegrating and my computer's out. And now my iPad needs charging, so I'm on my phone. So forgive me if there's interruptions. Anytime anybody calls, then it's going to cut off for a second. Don't worry, we'll come back on again. Anyway, so this Gabbai, they were filming the Rav and his Kabbalat Kahal because it was a big tzaddik who was there, and the Gabbai kept like falling asleep, and because it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and the Rav, he has kayach, and the Gabbai was like, I was laughing so much because I don't think when they put the film out, when they showed the clip, they didn't realize that the Gabbai was like, and he's young. Okay, so whatever, our bodies have to be strong so that we can stay in the Beis HaMikdash all night and then work during the day, do what you need to do, then take a little bit of a rest. So anyway, that's why I'm a little bit tired. But last night I was privileged with I'm sure it was the zchus of my students and my people who love to hear these stories. I was privileged to go to the Lag BaOmer of the Yanuka, and I share with you his teachings and a little bit about him. And it was in the place called the kever of Shimshon HaGibor. Anybody's been there? Shimshon HaGibor is in a forest. You've been there? Haven't been done yet? Shimshon HaGibor is deep in a forest, in a little town near Beit Shemesh. And it was a really big nace how I got there. Mamish, a nace how I got there, and a nace how I got back. And so I just want to tell you something, ladies. Now, telling is not the same as experiencing. So I'm hoping that you've experienced this in your life. But there's nothing as delicious as feeling Hashem's closeness. There's nothing in the world that comes close to the pleasure of feeling Kedusha. of feeling holiness. Nothing comes close. We've all had wonderful things, wonderful experiences, and we're all good people, and we're davening, we do the mitzvahs. But when you have an extra special kirvas Elokim, when you feel Hashem's presence, there's nothing that comes close to that. And so what happens? What happens is, as big as your soul is to receive, now everything we're learning today is from the Zohar Kadosh, is from Rebbe Shimon. As big as your soul is to receive, that's how much your soul can receive. What's the matter? What happened? Something happened?
Just another young Rochel to add to our lists.
Today we don't think about anything sad. We're not allowed to think anything sad, even righteous sad thoughts. Even righteous sad, Rabbi Shimon said, there was a big tzaddik in his generation. Some of you have heard, we've already learned this already 3 times this week, but those of you who are on the multiple classes, we'll learn it again. There was a big tzaddik in the time of Rabbi Shimon who used to mourn every single day about the Beis HaMikdash, except on Shabbos. And he would say a special prayer, one of the special prayers for Tisha B'Av, he would say every day. And one day he said the special prayer, it was like Momer, and he said that special prayer. Rabbi Shimon came in a dream or in a vision to the Ariya Kadosh, and he said to him, tell that man that on my day, on Lag Momer, nothing, even righteous, holy, sad thoughts. Push them away, just positive, just feel positive. Because for people like us, my friends, you're all very holy ladies. For people like us, we don't have a desire to do evil, to kill, to rob, to steal, to hurt, to be malicious. That's not our Yetzer Haras. Our Yetzer Hara dresses up, as the Zohar says, and the Ariya Kadosh says this, in talus and tefillin. That means when we have a Yetzer Hara, it's about, it usually disguises itself in something that appears to be holy and righteous. But today, only as much as we can. That's why I did not look at the news today. I didn't look at my WhatsApps. I didn't look at the WhatsApp news. No, I don't want to look at it today. I'm just focusing on positive. Why? Because when a lot of holiness is coming down, you want to receive it. You want to receive as much as you can. And your receiver is your neshama. And your neshama is only as big, when it's in the body, the neshama is only as big as the amount of Torah and mitzvahs that you do. That's why there are some people who just don't get inspired. And the same person could have a friend. 2 people could be sitting in a shir. And one person is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And the other person is like, oh, what time is it? Like, we gotta go. Why? Because the person who's whoa, 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 their neshama is receiving. And the other person's neshama is smaller, so it receives, but not to the point where like, whoa, it's just, and the tzaddikim, if you can imagine this, the tzaddikim are plugged in to God, meaning their neshama they're always receiving, always like an umbilical cord of holiness to tzaddikim. That's why they don't, they can go without eating, without sleeping. Moshe Rabbeinu, he spent 1/3 of a year, 120 days, 40 days, and 40 days, and 40 days, no eating, no sleeping, because he was receiving in a way that we can't perceive. But that's today, to receive whatever it is that you can receive in spirituality and holiness, and to save it up in your spiritual bank account so that you could remember it from year to year and write down today what happens to you. Hashem and his kindness. Yesterday I was looking for a sefer, and so I needed to look something up. And you know how it is when you look, you have books all over the place, right? Yeah, Sfarim, and I found a notebook of mine, and I thought that it was empty, and I was thinking that's a nice notebook to give as a gift. It's one of these decorative notebooks that I once bought actually for my granddaughter, and I just opened it up to see, and I had written something in it, and it was exactly, that it was like a sphere notebook of exactly the day. So write down someplace your experiences today in Lag Bomer, so that next year Lag Bomer you'll feed on it, and you'll remember, and not just next year, because next year, Be'ez Hashem, please, we hope Mashiach is going to be here. We'll be in the Beis HaMikdash. We'll see Rabbi Shimon clearly. But even for tomorrow and the next day, and we're so lucky that this year calendar is such a good calendar. We had after Shabbos, after Pesach, we had Shabbos, and then this year tonight is already Lag Bomer, is Ice Lag Bomer, but it's Erev Shabbos, and Erev Shabbos is also holy. Then we go straight into Shabbos. So you might need this on Sunday, just the feeling today of God's presence in your life and just what's important and what's not important. And I just explained to you how the idea is of the size of our soul is a receiver. The proportion of how you open your soul is the proportion of happiness that you have, and pleasure. It's such a pleasure. So, I mean, what do we do on Lag Bomer? We make a lot of noise, lots of loud music, lots of fire, lots of people. It's not like one of these like refined state dinners or my Zoom is telling me something nerve-wracking. If I go off of Zoom, somebody has to send me it. Okay, no, maybe it's fixing. Ay, Hashem, please. Anyway, we really just it's a like a happening, and everybody's. Yesterday, I was privileged to go in the car with one of a very holy family, and rabbinical family. And as we got there, so the Rav, before we got out of the car, he took off his shoes and put on sneakers because he said, I know what this is going to be like. So as a Rav, the whole bit, put in a pair of sneakers. I also wore sneakers because I also know we're in the forest, and there's a lot of so we don't dress fancy, but it's a whole different experience. Lag Bomer is filling your soul, it's filling your soul. So, but again, we have to make sure that our souls are elastic enough to receive more and more and more. And so I just want to point out a midah keneged midah, a measure for measure in Rabbi Shimon's life. And in Rabbi Shimon, that his Rebbe was Rabbi Akiva. And he himself was a teacher of Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi. Rabbi Shimon was a teacher of Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi. So Rabbi Shimon, when he was younger, he studied with Rabbi Akiva straight for 13 years. And that was when he was young. Then the whole world, the Romans and the whole thing with Rabbi Akiva, and they put him, that whole thing. And then in the end, when Rabbi Shimon was older, he had the same amount of years, 13 years in the cave, the same amount, 13 years in the cave, where he was literally spoon-fed from Hashem. Eliyahu Navi came to him. He was spoon-fed and explained all the things that he had learned with Rabbi Akiva in those 13 years. The second 13 years came down, and like, you know how it is, you download it into the computer, you download it, and then you got the second word when the computer like makes it happen. There's a download, and then there's forgot the second word. That's what happened. You know that word, what I'm talking about?
Is it reboot?
No. When you download something, let's say you have a new tochna, a new program. First, you have to download it, get all the things in it, and then it activates itself into the computer. I forgot that second word.
Install.
Install.
Install. Thank you. First download, then you install. That's how it was. Rabbi Akiva downloaded into Rabbi Shimon, and then Hashem installed it into him so that it became every fiber of his being. Ad Kedei Kach, to the point where, the story that he was in the cave 13 years, and when it was time for him to leave, how did he know it was time for him to leave? So the Rav brings down the story that Eliyahu Navi came to him, and he stood outside the cave, and he said, and he was dressed like nobody, nothing special, Eliyahu Navi, but he stood outside the cave, and he said, outside the cave, he said, I wonder who's going to tell Rabbi Shimon that those who want him dead are no longer, and that he can come out of the cave. That's what That's how he found out. So the question is, I just want to hear here. I just want to read to you what it says. In Gemara Shabbos, on page Lamed Gimel, page Lamed Gimel in Gemara Shabbos, it says that Eliyahu Navi revealed himself to him, and he told him he can leave the cave. But how did he do that? So the Rav says, he stood outside the cave and he said, Mi odia living Yochai shenit batla hagzera. Who's going to tell Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai? So the question is, why didn't he? Eliyahu Navi was always revealing himself to Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. So why this time did he disguise himself as like a wayfarer, a traveler, and say to him in that offhanded way, I wonder who's going to tell Rabbi Shimon that he can leave the cave. Why? So the Rab says, because Eliyahu Navi, when he appeared to Rabbi Shimon, Eliyahu Navi appears to us in 3 ways. Maybe you've had this. I'm sure you've had it. The first way, I don't know if you've had. The first way Eliyahu Navi appears to us is in a biblical costume with a big wide leather belt as he used to wear. And that's how he appears to the real tzaddikim in the physical body and the appearance of how he was when he lived in this world. The second way that he appears to people is what we're more familiar with. You know, a beggar, a schlepper, a poor person, a regular person, and he just says something, he throws something out, you're on the bus and someone says something to you, or whatever. It's like you don't realize it's Eliyahu Navi until after the fact that you realize, oh, your life was just saved, or whatever. And the third way he reveals himself is through our thoughts. Sometimes a thought pops into your head and you wonder where that thought come from. Hashem allowed you to have that thought. Hashem sent Eliyahu Navi into your brain to plant that thought into your brain. Eliyahu Navi is an angel. He's a shaliach. So why did Eliyahu Navi come to Rabbi Shimon in a disguised way? He was always coming to him the way he looked when he was alive. And he explains that's because Rabbi Shimon was learning Torah. And Eliyahu Navi, when Eliyahu Navi would come to reveal Torah to him, he would come dressed as he was when he was in this life. But when Rabbi Shimon, when he was just telling him a fact, even though this fact was life-changing and life-saving, but he said, Rabbi Shimon's Torah is so powerful that I don't want to interrupt it for a second. So I'll downgrade my revelation to just a person standing outside the cave. Now, no one knew where that cave was. It was a cave in the middle of it. Now we know where Meron is. But, if you've ever looked at the caves of Israel, there's lots and lots of them. Certainly in those days, before excavations and before we did roads, if you ever travel down to the Yam HaMelech and you just look up, when you travel to the Dead Sea and you're traveling in the area, when you went down to there's only one way to get to the Dead Sea from Jerusalem. You have to go down a long, long, long road, and then you make a right turn. You get to the Dead Sea, you make a right turn. It's the funniest way to give directions, because could you imagine, like, if I would say to you, how do you get to the Thames River? But you're in London, right? So there's lots of highways, lots of ways to go there, depending on what neighborhood you are. To get to the Dead Sea from Israel, from Jerusalem, and from anywhere north, there's only one road. It's a highway, straight. Then you get to the end of this road, you pass Yericho, you pass Male Adumim, then you pass Misla Yeruchim, then you pass Yericho, then you get to the end, you make a right turn, there's the Dead Sea. So if you make that right turn, you look on your right, you'll see these huge cliffs and giant mountains. And there's tons and tons of caves in those mountains. And that's in the 21st century when we've already built. So could you imagine the caves in Rabbi Shimon? Nobody knew which cave Rabbi Shimon was in. Whatever it was, that's why he said it to him, because he said, I want you to understand the importance of Rabbi Shimon's Torah, that I, Eliyahu Navi, don't even want to interrupt him, even just to say to him, I'm saving his life. That's the importance of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai's Torah. So therefore, ladies, I want to share with you a piece of Torah from Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. And it's something that I wanted to make it relevant to you. Why? Because only a mother can smell milk and know if it's okay or not, right? That's one of those things. Sorry, we're on camera, right? You have to get, Ma, is this okay, right? It's a cute thing. Anyway, sorry, that was my ADD kicking in to say, to just get to thinking that was such a cute thing. Anyway, so I want to learn with you. So I was thinking, what can we learn from the Zohar that will be relevant to us? So I want to learn with you a prayer, a tefillah that we say on Shabbos. I mean, it's said also during the week, but it's in your siddur and it's from the Zohar, so why not learn it? And that way we're fulfilling all of these things at once. We're fulfilling learning some Zohar today, and we're fulfilling enhancing our tefillah, our prayer. Okay, so right before Shabbos, on Shabbos, when they do this, when they take up the Torah, right? So in shul, if you're in shul and you have to start becoming a shul goer, go to shul. When they're in shul and they open up Aron Kodesh, they open up, take up the Torah, right? The Zohar says in Parshas Vayakhel that when the shul is taking up the Torah from the Aron Kodesh and they open the Aron Kodesh, so all the gates of mercy are also opened. So when the guy goes, sometimes they give this to a kid, it's a psicha, it's called psicha, to open the Aron Kodesh. When he opens, he pushes away the curtain, he opens it. He is physically doing an act in earth, but it's a parallel. It opens up the gates of mercy in Shemayim, and that's why if you're in Israel. So all the ladies, I don't know how it is in Chutz La'aretz, but you should make this practice also in Chutz La'aretz. Everybody goes to the mechitza, because our mechitzas are usually serious mechitzas. So it's hard to always see through them. All the ladies go to the mechitza and they peek. And if you're in a Sephardic shul, they sometimes actually push the mechitza aside for the ladies. And all the ladies is like opening, they're throwing kisses, and they're like doing all kinds of gestures when the Aron Kodesh opens, to say, Hashem, I love you, because I just opened the gates to you, Hashem. And now I'm going to say a prayer of love. The gates of mercy are open. The gates of love are open. A lot of like, everything is open. It's like Hashem is like, and like making our prayers have to go through certain channels, but when they open our Kodesh, everything's open. And then we say this prayer. The Zohar says, so say this prayer. So here we're going to learn. It's called Brich Shmei. It's in Aramaic. You probably had a hard time saying it because it's not familiar to you. Open a siddur, look in Shabbos by Kriyas HaTorah, and we're going to learn today the prayer of Brich Shmei. It's a beautiful tefillah. And I hope this is okay, but I sometimes say this just because it's such a beautiful prayer, and it doesn't have Hashem's name in it. And it's asking, so I say it sometimes like when I feel like, so today is Rabbi Shimon. So we're going to say it. Okay, I'm going to read it. If you run to get a siddur, and I did not do this properly. So I don't know if you want to, I don't know how to do that, to share it on the screen. I didn't prepare properly. As I said, I'm tired. So if you get a siddur, so it's, and I don't have, I don't know what siddur to use. Every siddur is different, but it's right before Shabbos. It's Shabbos davening, and it is where it says right before laning, right before Shema. Right, you say the whole shul says Shema together. Brich Shmei de Alma Demare Alma. We're saying Barich is Baruch. It's Aramaic now. Oh, thank you, Janice. Art Scroll, page 436. Thank you, Shkaya. So it's in Aramaic. The prayer is Aramaic. Now, there's a big question of when we say 426, I think she said in the Art Scroll. 436? 436 in the Art Scroll. Thank you. So there's a very interesting teaching about why we say prayers in Aramaic. The Kaddish, Yiskadash is in Aramaic, right? And there are certain passages that we say in Uval Tzion that are in Aramaic. It's a very deep teaching. Oh, Shkayach Shulam. Sorry, there's another call. So Aramaic, Chazal say that the angels don't know Aramaic. So they can't block this prayer. It goes straight to God. That's why Kaddish is so powerful, because we always want to say prayers in Hebrew, because then the angels take our prayers and they bring them to Shemayim, whatever that means. But when we say this prayer and when we say Kaddish, it's so strong that they go straight. They don't understand these words. So the words straight up to Hashem. But you see, Aramaic is a sister language to Hebrew, so the words are going to sound familiar. I don't have a clock, so I see it. Okay. Brich, Baruch. Blessed is the name of the Marei Olam, of the owner of the world, of the master of the world. Brich, Kisrach Asrach. Blessed is your crown and your place. And Atar is a place. Yehei Re'usachim Amach Yisrael La'olam. Sorry that I'm saying it in like Ashkenazi, that's how I daven it. May your love, your favor, your Re'usach, like V'hata l're'echa kamocha. May your love, did that mute me? 1 sec. No. May your love to the Jewish people be forever. You should love us forever and ufur kan yaminach achazei la'amach b'beis mikdashach, and your the helping or the salvation of your love, your right hand, so to speak, the salvation or the redemption that the Jewish people are that we are gonna receive from Hashem's right hand, which means Hashem's love. Let it come to us and let it create a Beis HaMikdash, right? The holy temple. And give us, Hashem, bless us or put on us, lana lanu, mitzuv, from the good of, nahorach. Nahorach is like or. Give us, Hashem, bestow upon us. You might have the English actually there, if you have the art scroll. Give us from your light. Now today is all about light, because we light the big bonfires, right? And receive or accept our slosana, means our prayers in mercy. So that's the first part. Yehei Rabba Kadamach. Now this word means, same as we say this all the time, Yehi Rason Milfanecha. And if you want to learn Hebrew, I mean, if you're fluent in Hebrew, so you see, they were very similar words. Yehei is like Yehi, and Rava is like Ratzon, and Kadamach, Kodem, before you. It should be your will, Hashem. You should want. Whenever we say Yehi Ratzon means Hashem, wake up your love for us. That's what it means. Like when it's Yehi Ratzon Milfanecha, we always say that, Hashem Elokeinu, right? It doesn't just mean you should let it be, I don't know how the English would say it, like, may it find favor, whatever it means. It really means open up your love, show us your love. Now listen, Hashem doesn't have changes, but Hashem doesn't change. Like Hashem is not, sometimes his love is closed, sometimes his love is open, no. But we are using words that make sense to human beings, because sometimes we feel Hashem's love and sometimes we don't. So let us feel your love, Hashem. That you should give us chaim, a good life. You should give us a life of goodness, to extend our life, to prolong our life, right? Like torich means like laharich, like aroch, it means long. And we should be counted, the goat tzadikaya, in the midst of or with your tzadikim. We should be, this is why it's for today. We should be not only counted with your tzadikim, but we should be in the chevra, in the group of, in the category of your tzadikim. Now, we might not be tzadikim, but we want to be wannabes. We want to be tzaddikim. We want to be attaching ourselves to the righteous people. You know how it is. Why is it? Lahavdil, infinite havdalos, lahavdil, to make a separation between the holy and the totally profane. Why did Hashem make celebrities in the world? A celebrity that people, people follow them and they want souvenirs of them and they want to read everything about them. You know why Hashem made that concept in the Goyish world of celebrities? Celebrities meaning even sports people and any of those entertainment, that's all shmutz. That's all not kosher. But why did Hashem make that concept? Because Hashem wanted to teach us. That's how you're supposed to be towards tzaddikim and towards righteous, holy people. And the tzaddikim don't have to be famous. They don't have to be, they could be just, if you know tzaddikim, then you should want to be near them. And how do you know a tzaddik that's connected to you on the level of your soul? When your connection to that tzaddik makes you want to be a better Jew. That's how you can tell if there's a tzaddik that is attached to you, that you come from the same soul root or a close by soul root. If that tzaddik inspires you to be better, to be a better Jew. And the bigger the tzaddikim, the more people are attached, the more people they have connected to them, the more their neshama is bigger, and so more people are attached to them, and they inspire more and more people, the bigger the tzaddik is. Even though Rabbi Nachman says the biggest tzaddikim are the ones who have to get down to the lowest places and pick out the neshamas that are in the lowest places. But okay, let us be accounted, pikida, like a remembered or accounted with the tzaddikim, into the tzaddikim. Lamircham Allah, you should have mercy on me. Ulamintar yatsi v'yatsi kol diri, you should have mercy on me, and you should have closeness to me. You should take care of me, and everything that belongs to me. Everything that from the entire Jewish people. We say me and all connected to me, meaning our family, our friends, our students, anyone who's connected on the level of soul. We say, please count us with the tzaddikim, have mercy on us, and bring me to you. You, Hashem, give food to everybody, and you give sustenance to everything. You give food to everything. It's you, Hashem. Ant is like ata. You, Hashem, give food to everything. You sustain everything. You rule over everything. Ant shalit al-kola. You're the shalit. The shalit means you're the ruler. You're the king. You're the creator. You're the everything. The power on everything. Al-kola on everything. Ant the shalom al-chaya. You, Hashem, are controlling all the kings of the world. Malchusa dilachi, and kingship belongs to you, Hashem. Kingship and honor and really honor and royalty and dignity is only Hashem. We should not. That's why David HaMelech was called king. Why? Because he said, "It's not me. It's not me. It's everything is Hashem. Don't start getting me involved in your Don't put me on a pedestal," said David HaMelech. He was a true king. It's not about me. It's about you and Hashem, and it's all Hashem. That's why David HaMelech, when they brought the Aron Kodesh into Yerushalayim, he without bodyguards, he just jumped into the crowd, and he was dancing and dancing and dancing, and his shoes flew off, and his robe was flying all over the place, and his payets were all over the place, and he was really looked like he was because he said. And then later on, Michal, his wife, she didn't like that so much. She didn't feel that was dignified. And he said, no, all Malchus is God's. All power is God's. If I'm anything, it's only to teach everyone. That all kingship and God and power is only God. And I'm just a servant of God. I'm just a servant of God. I'm nothing. Okay, I'm a king, you're a queen, I'm a teacher, you're a parent, everybody's whatever they are, but really we're all servants of Hashem. We're just a servant. In one of my Sidurim, in the Chalkas Yeshua Siddur, he writes, he amends this. It's really interesting because and the prayer from the Zohar says, I am a servant of God. And he says, that's a presumptuous thing to say. You're a servant of God? So he puts in parentheses, I want to be, I'm striving to be, I'm trying to be a servant of God. But we say, Ana the bichu. They had that song, Ana, they even put it into a tune. That I stand before him, and I stand before his Torah, I get up, I acknowledge Hashem, I bow myself down. I bow down before Hashem and before his Torah. I bow down before Hashem and before His Torah. That's why when we give a scholar honor, we stand up for him. Why do we do that? It could really cause a lot of arrogance, but we're not standing for him. We're standing up for the Torah that he is encompassing, that that person is representing, all the Torah that person has learned, that's in that person. That's what we're standing for. B'chol idan v'Idan, at all times, I bow before you. Lo al ena shochisna, I'm not going to put my trust in people. Enosh is like anashim, right? I'm not going to trust. I'm not going to lean on people. V'lo bar Elohim samichna, not even powerful people, not even angels, whatever that means. I'm not going to rely on anything. Ela be'Eloah dishmaya, just Hashem. Zihu Eloah kshot, because Hashem is true. Kshot means true. The right is kshot, and His Torah is true. When the other kshot, and His prophets are true. Somebody has to mute themselves. His prophets are true. And the prophets are teaching us, and all the Torah is teaching us truth and goodness. That when we're attaching to the tzaddikim, we become attached to goodness and truth. Therefore, Bei Anarachitz, I'm davening for in Him. I'm putting my trust into Him. Bei, in Him. Ana, ani, rachitz. I'm going to trust. Right? We had the word before, rachitz now. V'lishmei kadisha yakira, ana emar tushbecha. And before Hashem's great name, I want to praise. I want to praise Hashem's great name. Yehei Rabba Kadanach, we had that already before. Let it be your will, Hashem. Let it come before you. Let this idea of love and come before you. The siftach libai ba'oraisa, and open my heart. Liftochet halev sheli ba'oraisa, with your Torah. V'sashli mishal delibai, and please Hashem, you know my heart's wishes. When you open my heart, I want you to fill it up with Torah. But I also want you to look into my heart. You see what my heart needs. You see what I want, what I like, what I'm asking for. So please fulfill the wishes of my heart. And the heart of all of your people. The tav in a good way, and for life, and for peace. Amen. Isn't that a beautiful tefillah? Reb Shimbo Yochai Zohar. It's simple. It's a simple tefillah. You could say it. Now you say it. And by the way, it's in Aramaic. So as I said before, it goes straight up. But also, because it's in Aramaic, you should read it. If you need to say the English, say the Aramaic, because then it goes straight up. But say the English along with it. You're allowed to. Aramaic, English, Aramaic, English. So it's such a powerful tefillah. And as Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, say this when they open up the Aron Kodesh. So a lot of times when I've seen, when they open their own Kodesh in shul, women start talking their own requests, right? So luckily in shul, and I don't know if you remember this, but a few weeks ago, we had that they took out 3 Sifrei Torah. It was Rosh Chodesh, it was, what was it? It was Rosh Chodesh, and it was Parshas HaChodesh, and it was Shabbos. They took out 3 Sifrei Torah, and it says it's Sfarim, because it takes a long time to take out all the Sifrei Torah, so the Aron Kodesh is open for a longer time. So this prayer is good enough to say. In other words, if you're given like a 2-minute opening to heaven, Rabbi Shimon says, say this prayer. He included all of the requests that you could possibly have in this prayer. And then if you have extra time, say whatever it is that you want to say when the Aron Kodesh is open. Now I want to go over the main teaching that we have to mekabel upon ourselves on Lag BaOmer. Even though Rabbi Shimon was his Torah his teachings were indescribably deep and great, and and many, and we light a candle, right? He says to light fire when he on his yard side. Last night the Rav said that it's also his birthday. He was one of those tzaddikim. Now how he knows that, I don't know. But he said that anyway. Rabbi Shimon, when he said to light fire, so the Rav says every year he says the same teaching, and I'm going to repeat it for you. It says in Gemara Brachos. One sec. That the main reason that we light the fire is to remember the teaching. Rabbi Shimon said, he said that it's better to jump into a fire than to embarrass another Jew. He said it in 4 different places in the Gemara, that it's better to jump into the fire than to embarrass or hurt another Jew. And so when we see the fires here, it says like this. No. So it says that on every year Lag Bomer, we're supposed to recommit to Ben Adam L'Chaveiro. Now we know that we're all trying our best to be nice, but we also know, that we fail, and we forget Lag Bomer. We forget Lag Bomer during the year, and we forget that the power of it and the sweetness. It's so sweet. It's so delicious. So we forget this, but he says, when you're looking at the fire now, I'm sure you lit a little candle. If you didn't, you could still light a little candle. And look at it and say, it's better to jump into the fire. What does it mean to jump into the fire? That's not comfortable at all. But it's better to jump into the fire than to needlessly, willingly hurt somebody, hurt another Jew. So we have to be, we have to just, that's the energy of faith. And since I just said it, so you heard it, you makabel, you received it, you accepted it, that we're not going to hurt anyone. As best as we can, we're going to try our best to remember that we don't want to hurt anyone, we don't want to embarrass anyone, we want to forgive everyone. If anybody hurt us, we want to forgive them. Rabbi Shimon said something else that's so powerful. He said, "Afilu rasha b'sof yamav mitza'er al kol avonotav, ein maskirim lo shuv et risho." He said, if you have a person in your life that you know who is the worst person, horrible, it's in the Gemara that talks about marriage. So it's interesting when he puts it in the Gemara that talks about marriage. If there's somebody in your life that is absolutely miserable, horrible, terrible to you, but if at the very end of their life or at some point in their life, they actually do tshuva, you're not allowed to have a memory of the past. You're not allowed to remind them of how things used to be. If a person changes, we have to believe and accept that their change is real, and we're not allowed to remind them of their past mistakes. And that's something that we all sadly have long memory. Sometimes we remember things that we shouldn't remember. We forget things that we're supposed to remember. We remember things we shouldn't remember. But that's what he said. You don't bring up the past evil if a person has done tshuva or is trying to do tshuva. And Rabbi Shimon, so many, because he brought down the Zohar, and the Zohar is so big and so holy. We would think that maybe he lived by himself for so many years. Maybe we would think that it's like an abstract kind of he's one of these detached people. Rabbi Shimon the Rav said it last night over and over again. Rabbi Shimon's neshama came to bring mercy into the world, because he was talking about what happened last year. And he said something, one of his students said something that was so, and I guess he said it in his name. He said that every year Rabbi Shimon on his yard site fixes another level of humanity. I don't know what that means. How does that happen? I don't know. But the highest, when certain problems in the world are fixed, then all the souls that came to the world to fix that problem on their own personal life don't have to be here anymore, and they all go up together. That's what it says in the Zohar, that they all go up together. And that's what happened last year. All of those 45 went up together because they were all clearly united on the level of soul. And something happened spiritually, even though it looked like a tragedy and it looked like negligence on the part of the whoever, but really it was that their souls were all bonded and bound together in a certain mission. And somehow, instead of having to live out a long life, that mission was accomplished on Lag Bomer. And at that moment, they all flew up because their job had been completed. And Shimon also says that when we say Shemona Esrei quietly, so why do we say it quietly? One of the reasons is because we don't want to embarrass those people who have to say tshuva, who have to say, I'm sorry, Hashem, slachlan, right? It's slachlan, it's not right. You're supposed to say what you mess up. We don't want to embarrass those people, so we say vidui quietly. We say it quietly, not to embarrass anybody. In other words, the point I'm trying to make is that he was the greatest neshama, with such a huge brilliance and genius and job to do, and yet many of his sayings are all about ben adam l'chaveru, which means just be a good person, be a nice person, be a more compassionate person, etc. So I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to bless you with a really meaningful day. Please daven, ladies, whatever you want, daven. Ask Hashem, make it meaningful. Don't just a regular day. It's not a regular day. It's a special day. There's a special power now. We don't understand how neshamas work. We don't understand the power of tzaddikim. It's something that is foreign to us. We don't get it. But there's something going on here that's bigger than our understanding. And there's something very humbling about even just recognizing that. So just say, Hashem, I want to daven to you today. And ask you to come close to me and ask you to open my heart, that I should feel you and I should be trusting more and I should be better and, do tshuva, whatever you need to do today to make it meaningful and stay positive, not a thought of negativity, only positive. And say, there's plenty of negativity in the world. It's not like we don't have what to worry about. Never. You got just now a name of somebody who's sick, but try your best. The best zechus you can do for somebody today who's going through something is focus on God's greatness, God's immensity, the greatness of the tzaddikim, the gift that he gave us of tzaddikim. And the gratitude. We're so grateful to be Jews. We're so grateful to even know any of this. We're so grateful to know this. Let me wish you a good Shabbos. And Ezrat Hashem, thank you for putting it up. I saw you put up the Bir Shmei. Good. Wow, look at that. Oh, look at that. Who sent that to me? Good. Thank you, Shulamit. Thank you. Well, there you go. Okay. Good Shabbos.